Can low-carb diets help with serum uric acid and with gout? I'm Dr. Brett Scher, the medical director at dietdoctor.com, and I want to talk about an article I recently wrote about a study that was just published. It was a reanalysis of what's called the DIRECT trial, which was published back in the 2007, but it looked at people on 3 different diets and followed them over time for weight loss and sort of metabolic parameters. Well, now there's been a new analysis specifically looking at uric acid, or the blood levels of uric acid, as well as some other cardiometabolic risk factors. Now, why this is important is because, back when I was in medical school and residency, and for a long time, the main teaching has been if you have high uric acid or if you have gout, you need to avoid animal protein because animal protein has purines and that can increase the risk of gout. That is, for a long time, that was like fact, right? Undisputable fact. Well, as so many facts in medicine and science happen, now it's not so much fact because turns out a lot of the studies, that look at high protein and high purine diets were also high carb diets. And now the emphasis, or at least a theory, has been shifting more towards the association of high uric acid and gout with insulin resistance. And there's a good association there. So what this study did was there were 3 groups, 255 people randomized to either a calorie-restricted low-fat diet, a calorie-restricted Mediterranean diet, or a low-carb diet with no calorie restrictions. So as frequently happens in these studies, the no-calorie restriction low-carb diet ate the same level of calories as the others because of the natural calorie reduction that happened. So that's a nice finding. But the other interesting thing is this was a keto diet for 2 months at 20 grams of carbs, but then went up to 120 grams of carbs after that, or allowed up to 120 grams of carbs. So it actually wasn't sort of a pure keto study the whole time, but they followed them for 24 months. And what they found was the uric acid levels dropped in all 3 groups pretty much equally, with the biggest drop in those who already had a high uric acid level. And there was a slight difference in protein with a slight higher amount of protein in the low-carb diets, although it wasn't a huge difference. But what they're suggesting then is that maybe it's not the protein, but maybe it's the weight loss and the metabolic benefits that help lower the uric acid, because all 3 groups lost weight, all 3 groups improved their total cholesterol to HDL ratio, all 3 groups improved their triglycerides and insulin. Now, there was a trend towards greater improvement in the low-carb group, but all of them improved it. So, and all of them had lower uric acid. So it makes sense that maybe it's time to start focusing away from just protein as the cause and more towards the underlying diet, which is so important, right? We can talk about individual macros or individual nutrient components, but what really matters is what those do within the context of the whole diet. And if the whole diet is one that can improve insulin resistance, then probably the amount of protein is not a causative factor of high uric acid and gout. Now, this study didn't specifically measure gout, but there was a prior study, which I linked to in the article, which looked at a 30% protein diet. So that's thought of as a pretty high protein diet, but 30% protein, and there was no increased incidence in gout. In fact, there was a decreased incidence in gout because people improved their insulin resistance likely in that study. And it also shows the improvement in other metabolic markers. So what's the take home? The take home is that animal protein causing high uric acid and gout is an old, outdated concept. And instead, time to start focusing on insulin resistance and the role of protein within the diet as a whole. Hopefully that helps clarify things. Protein's not the enemy necessarily. The diet really matters. So you can see our full post at dietdoctor.com. Make sure you click like and subscribe down below so you can get all our updates on news stories and podcasts and interviews and cooking videos and all the other updates we have here at the Diet Doctor YouTube channel. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great day.